Hello, and welcome back to Let's Play Unrest. My name is Marlo, and when we left off, we were continuing our journey through the game, and right now we are playing as Bhagwan, the priest who is new here in High Priest Ranveer's temple, and we are... I forget what our mission is. I haven't played since yesterday in my time. I don't know. You may be watching these things back to back, but I forget what it is I'm supposed to be doing. So let's check our journal. Yeah, we sold the medicine. And okay, Ranveer told me to go out and gather funds from two people in the safer, more affluent parts of the city. I'm specifically to visit a doctor and a merchant. While I'm out, I'm to ask any well-to-do persons if they have anything to give in terms of food or medicine. Okay, so that's what we're supposed to be doing right now. So, let's do that. We'll leave the temple. Before we do that, let's see if our friend here, Priest Daya, has any advice for us. I feel like we've already had this conversation. This has not been a good day for anyone. You know, Ranveer decided to initiate you after we heard what happened to Prabal, right? He wanted to vet you. I'm going to give the response I gave the last time. Is it always that intense? Oh, like any man, he varies, so on and so forth. Yeah, we read all this before, so I don't know why we're having this conversation again. But that's okay. Alright, let's leave the temple. And, alright, we have the money to give this guy to protect our family, so I think we're going to give it to him. Now, he may be playing a trick on us, and so we may regret this, but let's see what happens. He says, well, and we say, here. Pleasure. No need to tell us anything else. We can find out where you live without much bother. Congratulations, priest. Your family's in good hands. Okay. We got another trait, which is careful. Bhagwan does whatever he can to protect his family. That's right. And then our journal entry. Oh, completed quest. We've completed that quest. I found the money to protect my family. Okay, so that's done. Okay. Now, that's a priest. Now, let's see on the map where we're supposed to be going. Let's see. There's Mandeep here, and there's Dahar. Yeah, Dahar, I guess I'll call him. I'm not sure how to pronounce that at that point. So we will go see Mandeep first if we, assuming we don't get lost. Which we could do. And in the meantime, we'll talk to a few people on the way and see if they want to give us anything. Let's see. Looking for donations? I suppose I can spare a little. She reaches into a purse, withdraws a few coins from the dozen within, and hands them to you. Here. I could be conceding and say thank you, this may yet save a life. I could be discontent and say every coin you give me feeds a child. Could you spare more? Or I could be firm and say hold nothing back, this is a matter of life and death. I think I'll be conceding. I'm not sure how much money I really want to raise for this, high priest, whose motives are certainly questionable. So we'll take some money, but we're not going to put these people in the slums by doing it, that's for sure. I'm glad to give anything I can. Alright. Journal. Okay, we're back. I don't know what happened. As soon as I clicked on the journal, the game crashed to desktop. That's the first time I've had anything like that happen. Of course, I'll edit this so that you won't really see anything happen but a strange cut. But at any rate, we seem to have picked up right where we left off. Let me see if I can click on the journal again. And without it crashing. And donations. Okay, the wife of an affluent merchant donated 4 coins to the temple in charity. Okay. Alright, let's see if we can talk to these people. I used to admire priests, I'd offer you something to eat, but I know Ranveer keeps you all very well fed. Well, And there's J Deep's man. Let's talk to this merchant. We're going to try to collect some more donations. Come for food and money. I have to say I don't see the point. Everyone west of Sham's line is going to starve to death someday. At least I have a chance of saving my family. So, our responses could be hesitant. Some will starve, but it's not nearly as hopeless as you say. I could say there would be firm and say there's no good pragmatic excuse for turning your back on people in need. And be hesitant and say it's harsh, but you have a point. Perhaps you should keep what's yours. I'll say number 2. There's no good pragmatic excuse for turning your back on people in need. How is it not? The droughts show no sign of ending soon. Between what little we've managed to grow and what we can bring in from the Naga merchants, we don't have enough food for everyone. So why give what little food exists to those who can't afford it? I could be relaxed and say, then I won't force the point. I could be firm and say, those who are starving don't have that luxury. And I could say, if you want things to ever go back to normal, you'll need to keep the slums from rioting, which means feeding them. And I think I'm going to go with number 3. I mean, this guy, if he wants to be practical, and, we can be practical as well. And this is a very practical statement, this third option, so we'll take that. So it's coercion, is it? Pay them off to keep them from your doors another day? I see how it is. Never thought of it that way. Well, maybe I'll have a talk with Ranveer, see if he can recommend any ways to stay particularly well protected. A struggling businessman donated to the temple in exchange for Ranveer's protection in these uncertain times. How many coins do we have now? 12. Okay. Oop. Now, let's see if we can talk to this man. Good day to you, priest. Okay, we can't do anything with him. How about this guy? I got lucky, found someone to give me business. I'm not hungry anymore, not really sure what to do with my time. Okay. Wealthy woman, some more flavor text that I can't really read because they're both at the same time. And there's a priestess, so that won't help us. I think Mandeep is this way, if I'm not mistaken. Here's a merchant. Let's talk to him. And Mandeep should be in this house over here. Okay, don't bother asking me for any food or money. You think because I'm rich? You think I'm rich just because I'm a merchant? You haven't had a meal in my house lately. We eat like peasants. Hesitant. I understand. I wouldn't want to burden your family. And be firm and say, but you eat. That's more than those in the slums can say. Be hesitant and say, has your trade suffered? Perhaps Ranveer could help. Let's say number 3. Let's see what happens from that. Those traders from the Naga Empire have cost me half my business. Tell you what, if you think Ranveer would intervene on my behalf, convince the nobles to start doing business with me instead, then maybe some of my stock would see its way to Ranveer. Do you think he'd take that deal? Relaxed. I'm certain he would. He rewards anyone who's willing to help the slums. Be firm and say, very well. I could be firm and say, I see, but something's wrong, isn't it? Would you like to talk about it? I like asking questions as responses, I have to admit, because it seems to offer at least the opportunity that the conversation will continue and we'll, learn something else. So I'm going to say number 3, even though I'm tempted to say number 2. I think I'm going to go with number 3 in this situation. Oh, 1,000 apologies. How dare I suggest that Bimra's families do business with merchants from Bimra? Bless those Naga merchants for coming here and taking all the burdensome orders and custom off my hands. Alright, so not exactly what I was hoping for. Our pragmatic merchant donated some of his stock to the temple in exchange for Ranveer's support of his business. We don't really have anything else in our inventory, but that's okay. Okay, we can go in here and see Mandeep, which is one of the people that Ranveer specifically suggested that we go talk to. Ah, about that time, I suppose. Come in. Can I offer you anything to eat or drink? I was just having kheer and puri as a snack. Relaxed. Thank you very much. Yes. No, thank you. I live on mainly temple food. And firm, I thought we weren't supposed to. Why would we not be supposed to? It's funny though, because he's disgusted with me. Is there a journal entry on this fellow? No, I don't believe there is. Alright, just thought I'd check. I don't really know what I'm supposed to do here, what the social protocols are, really. So, I think I will say no, thank you. I live on mainly temple food. I'll do that. You mean on the food Ranveer can afford for all of you. I'll say this about him. He really does put as much of that money as possible towards the slums. They say he lives on little but bread and water, you know. I could be hesitant and say I wouldn't know about that. I've never eaten with him. I could be firm and say it's no more than you'd expect from a priest of his stature. Or I could say, yes, he's a very humble man. I don't think he is a humble man. But I think I'm going to say I wouldn't know about that. I've never eaten with him. Of course, whatever he spends his money on, whether he spends, I'm having trouble reading. Of course, whether he spends his money on 100 loaves of bread or one big supper, it's all the same to me. Just one more person I've got to pay to do business in this city. I could be relaxed and say it's certainly appreciated. I could be relaxed and say it's not as though you have to give the money, you could instead refuse. Or, might you not instead think of it as another way of saving lives, Doctor, and be chiding? I think I'm going to say number 3 and see how he responds to that. I think he's going to give his money kind of no matter what, because he seems to feel that he has to. But I'm kind of curious as to why he does. So maybe this statement here will draw him out a little bit on that. Could I, though? I'm not so sure. Perhaps I'm old-fashioned, but in the old days, if a civic leader asked you to give money, you gave money, or you had it, and a lot more, taken from you. Chiding. I could be chiding. I could say Ranveer's a priest, not a thug. He doesn't do things like that. I could be relaxed and say the truth is, I think Ranveer's men are too thinly spread for him to take exception to any one person. Or I could be hesitant and say perhaps you're right. I'm going to go with number 3. Please pay Ranveer my respects. I wouldn't want him to think of me as anything less than a friend. Alright. Let's check our journal. It's updated. The Dr. Mandeep donated 80 coins to the temple as just another cost of doing business. And, serving the temple, the doctor yielded the money with no fuss. Why is it easier to take money from some people than it is to give bread to some others? Very good question. In our inventory, we now have Mandeep's donation. And our map is updated. Okay, we need to go down here and see Dahar. On our way, we'll talk to other wealthy people that we haven't talked to yet. If we encounter any. Now, we've talked to everybody in this area, so we're going to go down. And shopkeeper, wealthy man. Let's see if we can talk to these guys. Okay. Just some flavor text here. Shopkeeper. There's nothing different there. There's a wealthy woman. Let's talk to her. She just is saying hello. Here's a merchant. Is it that time again? Very well. I'll have my servants bring some food over to the temple. Anything to keep those soldiers of Jaydeep in fighting shape. I can be relaxed and say thank you. I'm sure your donations help a lot of people. I could be firm and say, the slums have no soldiers. If anything, Jaydeep's men are guards, protectors. Or I could be relaxed and say, Jaydeep's men are no soldiers. They're more like an overgrown gang, honestly. I think I'll say number 2. Number 3 is maybe a little bit, even though number 3 is what I personally think. I'm not sure if it's what our character would think at this point, and, I'm not sure. It might be a little bit more open than the character might be prepared to be at this point in his tenure here. So let's go with number 2. A little bit more of a cautious response, perhaps. Let's just say that they aren't soldiers, they're more like guards. Yeah, except what they're protecting is us. If things come to violence, who do you think they'll side with? The starving wretches around them, or the people who gave them bread and uniforms? Ranveer's a clever man. Who would have thought of making the slums our first line of defense against the slums? Okay, a wealthy merchant donated 16 coins and some food to the temple to keep Jaydeep's men healthy and loyal. And my cat is very curious about what I'm talking about and who I'm talking to, and it's jumped up here on the desk. Let me remove her. There you go. Alright, so let's continue on. There's a mule trader. Can we talk to you? Can we talk to you? Okay. You are new. Is usual for old priests to change temples like this? I'm not from around here, do not understand all of Bimra's traditions. I can be confiding. To be a priest in Bimra is a lifelong calling. You needn't serve a temple, and if you do, you may choose which. I can be correcting and say, no, it's not usual. But the temple I used to serve was absorbed into Ranveer's. It wasn't exactly my choice. I could be hesitant and say, it's complicated. Why do you want to know anyway? You're not likely to become a priest. I think I'll say number 2, because, well, that seems to be the truth. This is interesting. Where I am from, there is only one God to serve. A priest spends his whole life, since he becomes a priest at young age, teaching others about that God. Seems strange to change temples, like you're cheating on your calling, yeah? Like you're admitting you're wrong. I could be confiding and say, that's not really how it works here. The temples aren't in competition. They're part of the same wisdom. I could be relaxed and say, your homeland sounds interesting, but I'm not sure I would want to be a priest there. I could be correcting and say, honestly, I do feel that way a little, but I think that's more to do with where I ended up. I think that I'm going to give this response. He's an outsider, and it's perhaps less to worry about that maybe, he's a spy for Ranveer or something like that. Let's see if we're open and honest with him, what he might say. You know, what Ranveer does here doesn't feel too different than where I'm from. Maybe when Ranveer traveled, he saw what my people were doing and thought it was a good idea. Anyway, I just carry boxes. Good luck with the hard work today. Alright, there's a wandering priest. Let's talk to him. He might have something interesting to tell us. You're one of Ranveer's, aren't you? Rare to see one of you all the way out here. Could be firm and say, we go where we're needed. I could be hesitant and say, I don't feel very welcome out here. Or I could be relaxed and say, come to that, I don't see many wandering priests out in the slums. Well, that's true. Why don't we say, I think I will say this, that I don't see many wandering priests out in the slums. There's no one there to give us charity, except for people like you, and I'm not one to take bread meant for the truly desperate. Besides, it's safer to be a wandering old man out here. But I'm sure you know all about... tongue-tied there. But I'm sure you all know what you're about. Please don't let me sit here and talk your ear off if you've got work you should be doing. It was pleasant speaking with you. Alright, here's a wealthy woman. Let's see if we can talk to her. I'm sorry, I don't have anything for you. And here's a merchant. I have to ask, what is it you people have against Naga? I can be hesitant and say I don't have anything against them. I can be firm and say it is Ranveer's belief that they take bread from the mouths of the poor. I could be firm and say we must trust them. They arrived just as Bimra's troubles began. And be firm and say, frankly, they're dangerous. I think I'm going to say number 1, I don't have anything against them. I don't see why this priest necessarily would have anything against Naga specifically. You realize how lucrative trade with the Naga is for us? Half of the decent food that comes into this city is through our connections with the Empire. I mean, I don't like the creepy bastards. Who does? But having a Naga counselor has been the best thing for Bimra in a long time. I could be firm and say not for Bimra's slums, I'm afraid. I could be relaxed and say I don't disagree. Or I could be firm and say the Empire is more powerful than we are. If they're trading with us, it's safe to say it's not a fair trade. There may be some truth to that, but I think I'm going to be relaxed and say I don't disagree. You tell Ranveer the next time you see him. Coming from a real man of wealth and intelligence, the Naga are more useful to us than 100 human slum rats. I don't know that I'm going to tell him that. Now, I thought that Dahar was supposed to be around here somewhere, but perhaps... Okay. The map seems to indicate that there's more places that I could perhaps go. Looks like this street's been cordoned off. Best leave it alone. Huh, well... Oh. Manjuri Dahar. The Naga opens the door and flinches when it sees you. I think I'll be hesitant to say you're not Dahar, are you? Come in, I've got everything ready for you. Here it is, enough for bread, enough... I think that's a typo. Enough bread to feed and medicine to save 10 human lives. That is what you want, isn't it? He's hostile towards us, he's contemptuous of us, but he's also afraid of us. It's interesting. You'll be hesitant to say, why would you give this to us? You know we'll just use it to help our own people. Be relaxed and say, this is very generous of you. Thank you, or I could just take the money and leave. I think I'm going to ask the question. I tend to favor asking questions in this game, it seems, because I want to know more. And I think our characters would generally want to know some of these things. I don't know if they would always be brave enough to ask the questions, but I'm going to be. And we're going to pick this one right here and say, why would you give this to us? You know we'll just use it to help our own people. Because I'm Ranveer's friend. He knows that, yes? I help him and his people. I could be hesitant and say, oh. I could be hesitant and say, why would you be his friend? What does he do for you? And I could be firm and say, never mind, I don't want to know. I just want to do my job. I could be firm and say, this feels wrong. Here, take it back. I don't want it. I'm going to keep asking questions. Why would you be his friend? What does he do for you? I'm tempted by a couple of these other responses, honestly, but I am hoping that the conversation will continue here. The Naga might look uncomfortable or might look upset. I could say, never mind, it's not my place to pry, I suppose. I could be hesitant and say, I'm sorry about all of this. I could be firm and say, this is wrong, and I can't take this money. I'm going to say that I'm sorry about all of this. Sorry, you're sorry. When the day comes, sorry will not save me. Maybe money will. Okay, our map is updated. Our journal. Dahar the Naga merchant donated 80 coins to the temple under curious circumstances. That's for sure. I'm not really sure I understand that. Unless he believes that he'll be killed and paying money to Ranveer might save him. The merchant, a Naga, offered a large sum of money to take to Ranveer, a man who has spent his career decrying the Naga. So, and our inventory now includes a donation to the temple, suspiciously generous. Alright, they don't really have anything to tell us. Let's see if J-Deep's man has anything off duty for once. Okay. So, nothing really to tell us. So why don't we head back, and I would like to try to speak to our friend Dea, who has given us very practical advice about things in the past, and see if he has anything to tell us about our current activities, which have led to some very interesting conversations and unexpected. Uh-oh. Okay, this is Laxmi, and remember now, Laxmi is the woman who is the head of the village where Tanya was. And she has confronted us, and she says, you, tell me, why would your Ranveer refuse me a squad of his men to keep peace in the farmlands? Why are these worthless streets more worth defending than my fields? I can be loyal and say I wouldn't presume to answer for him. He's a wise man. I could be chiding and say perhaps he believes your farms will look after themselves. I could be thoughtful and say I think he has very specific plans for those men. I could be grounded and say those men are from these slums. They are only passionate about defending these slums. Or I could say, I don't know. Excuse me. I think I'm going to be grounded. I like this response here. And this is very unexpected. I don't know where this conversation may lead. So let's say this. That these men are from these slums. They're only passionate about defending these slums. Let's see where that takes us. Are they passionate about eating? Because if my last good farm folds for want of one foolish bride and a little protection, I can't guarantee they will. I could be chiding and say, as I'm sure Ranveer would agree, the solution to your problem is not more violence. I could be supportive and say, you're a counselor, you have resources of your own, this is a chance to test them. I could be thoughtful and say, are you saying a missing bride is the root of your troubles? I think I'm going to go with this. Of course, Tanya is that missing bride. And perhaps there was more to that situation than we knew about at the time when we were playing that character. And perhaps this question may lead to more information about that, maybe. My peasants respected my husband. I know they don't give me the same respect. To them I am a cruel usurper and an incompetent governess who is the root of all their suffering. Now 2 peasants have fled from my field, stealing a horse and a great sum of money in the process. My authority has been challenged. If I cannot find them, I will have to take drastic steps to keep peace. I could be chiding and say, you will not gain their respect through displays of strength alone. I could be helpful and say that perhaps Vijay can help you, or the mercenary captain. Or I could be distant and say, you know your charge better than I do. I wish you good fortune. I think I'll be chiding and say, you will not gain their respect through displays of strength alone. That sounds like something a priest might say. And I'm not sure how much I want to help her find the girls, after all. So we'll say number 1. No, but strength is all any of us have left. Ranveer's people are kept busy, are kept happy by bread. Mine demand something more. Alright. Interesting interaction there. But let's go in the temple. That was unexpected, but let's go in the temple and see if Dahar, well, here's Priestess Chatura. Let's see if she has anything extra to say. No, that's the same as last time. How about Priest Samit? Okay, that's the same. Priestess Priya, anything new? Nope, certainly not anything new. There are walls disappearing all over the place. Priest Dea. And we keep having the same conversation with him. Which is interesting. So, let's come over here and talk to Ranveer, who seems to like to hang out in the storeroom for some reason. A little extra effort on your part can save lives, remember that. Bhagwan, you're back in good time. Have you done what I asked? I could be firm and say I have, here you are. I can be firm and say I'll see to it, or I can be firm and say there's something we need to talk about. I think I'm going to go with number 3. I was hoping you would say that, Bhagwan. It is a vital step in the path of any priest to question his teachings. If you haven't confronted your beliefs, they aren't your beliefs. It's only a true saint or a true fool who has no doubts. What is it you'd like to talk about? Let's see, I could be firm and say, what's your plan for the Naga? Where are you going with all of this? I could be firm and say, why are you helping the slums? Is it true you're trying to turn them into a private army? I could be hesitant and say, I don't know, but this charity is beginning to feel less altruistic and more sinister. Well, I certainly, as a person, as the player, I certainly, think this response kind of cuts to the core of the issue. But I'm not sure that that's likely to receive a response that we're going to like. Why don't we ask, what's your plan for the Naga? Where are you going with all of this? You've heard my thoughts on the matter. Frankly, a Naga in the slums is as good as a death sentence for a dozen humans. We cannot suffer the violence and insatiable appetites of those creatures any longer. Coming to our city was an unfortunate move for everyone concerned. But when it comes down to it, it's them as should suffer the consequences. Is this bothering you? I could be firm and say, of course it is, this is horrible. I could be firm and say, keep talking, or I could be firm and say, I've already heard enough. I think I'm going to say, keep talking. I'm not advocating open slaughter. We deport as many Naga as we can at their own expense. Any that cannot be deported will be left to J-Deep's men to deal with. Isn't that fair? J-Deep's men, after all, come from those slums. It's their mouths the Naga take bread out of, so it should be they who decide what to do. I could be firm and say Naga aren't locusts, they're intelligent creatures. I could be firm and say, this is your plan? It's not only barbaric, it's absurd. Is this what I'm supporting with my efforts as a priest? I could be firm and say, it may be logical, but it doesn't sit right with me. I could be firm and say, I see. I think I'm going to say number 1. Naga aren't locusts, they're intelligent creatures. All life is sacred. I don't relish cruelty or harsh treatment to any creature. And notice, by the way, his opinion of us went down when we did that. But if it's slaughter a sheep or let children starve for want of mutton, I think we both know the choice to make. This city is split at the seams, and you know it. It's us or the Naga, Bhagwan. Which will you choose? Well, this is interesting. Alright, we have 3 choices. We can be hesitant and say, I will stand with the temple as I must, but this is difficult to stomach. I could say neither. It's choosing at all that is evil. Or I could be firm and say, put like that, I stand with the Naga. They're the ones that need my help, not you. Well, that is a tough choice. And, here again we come to the question, do we do what the character would do in this situation? Or do we do what the player wants to do? I mean, personally, as the player, I really would like to choose choice number 2. It is partly because it's my personal belief that saying you're either for me or against me is, has a, smacks of being an ultimatum, and it's, kind of puts people in a pretty crappy position in a lot of instances. And so I'm tempted personally to choose this option. Now, at the same time, our character is a priest, but he's also a father who has at least 2 children, and he wants to protect these children. And so, I tend to think that, this choice might be more like what the character would say. I will stand with the temple as I must. Because he, if he wants his family to survive, and to flourish, this might be what he would have to do. Now, the question is, what should we do at this point? What should I do at this point? Should I roleplay the character, or do I pick what I, the player, want to see the outcome of? So far in the Let's Play, I've really been kind of towing the line and doing a little bit of both, honestly. But, now we're at a point, at least with this character story, that we cannot do both. We have to choose one of these things. I think, I will choose that I will stand with the temple as I must. I think I'll roleplay it. I mean, I think this man, as a family man, as a father, with young children that he is responsible for, might be willing to stomach some things that he's not comfortable with for the sake of his family. I think a lot of people would probably do that. So, Even though number 2 is the thing that the player, want to pick, I'm going to choose number 1. I will stand with the temple as I must, but this is difficult to stomach. Good, he says. You impress me, Bhagwan. You don't merely do. You think, and carefully. You do more than survive. These streets will need people like you. Someday, I don't know when, the hunger and death and fear in the slums will grow to be too much for human hearts to bear. What will come of that will be more terrible than either you or I can imagine. It will consume caste. It will consume moral principle. Suddenly survival will be hard enough, and not enough at all, and not enough all at once. It will be hard enough, and not enough all at once. I have made this temple what it is for one reason, to be the hand that guides when all else has failed. Alright. And we have earned the trait Loyal. Bhagwan decided to continue serving Ranveer. Ranveer's words of praise are a comfort. They mean your family will eat for as long as Ranveer is able to feed them. Perhaps you've done all you can for them. Perhaps they will be safe. What else matters? And we must push continue. And this seems to be the end of Bhagwan's story, at least for now. Okay, and now it appears that we'll be playing as Asha yet again. But that will have to wait until next time. Until then, I hope you're doing well and continue to do well. And I'll catch you in the next video.